Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for your patience. We had some technical difficulties with cameras there, but here we are. So I hope everyone's doing well. Again, thank you for patiently waiting. Hope you weren't thinking we weren't going to show up. So I'm here with Andria Seymour today. Andria is going to be talking to us a little bit about how she works with clients and what results she has seen. And so I was just going to ask Andria, can you introduce yourself, please? What you do and why you do it?
Yeah, I am a third generation myofascial release therapist. That's kind of my go-to. That's where I started. Ask me anything. Here I am.
That's what you do. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, you adopted microcurrent therapy. How many years ago was it now?
3.
3. And so with myofascial release, like you got into that, obviously passed down to you, right? And you've studied, is John Barnes, is that right?
Yep.
Yep. Perfect. And so you've got a lot of experience working with people in pain and having all sorts of issues like this. What would you say microcurrent has done, and what have you seen microcurrent do in addition to what you already do?
Okay, so I think the best way to explain this would be if you know anything about fascial tissue at all, it's what holds us together. It is the glue in our person. It goes down to the cellular level. It holds memories, it holds trauma, it sends signals back and forth. We're electric through and through, okay? And so knowing that the basis of our body and the fascial tissue and the electricity, you know that you have to have water and you have to have electricity. And so moving that fascial tissue around, you're applying a steady pressure for long periods of time, because fascial tissue has a tensile strength of 2,000 pounds per square inch. And so it takes a lot to get it to release when it is in that hardened trauma state. So working with the fascial tissue and getting it moving, it's a lot for a therapist to really work through that. And when we started using microcurrent, we started with the scalar, okay? And we had an evolution. And we didn't know what to expect, but it makes our life a whole lot easier, because that scalar energy goes down and just flushes all of the stuff out, and that fascial tissue just melts under our hands in half the time. So that was a game changer for us. A lot of people are now getting what we call an assist, which is 2 therapists, one doing the myofascial work and one doing the microcurrent. Everybody gets a mitochondrial recharge, which we're calling an ATP because it's easy.
Yep.
And then we hold the scalar over the therapist's hands, and it melts. And I've noticed, and I've had lots of clients tell me, that if they get the ATP along with their myofascial treatment, they are not feeling any soreness from detoxing from therapy the next day. It's totally taking that out of the therapy altogether, which is an amazing thing, because there's nobody that drinks enough water. And so if you don't drink enough water, you're not flushing the toxin. So the next day you're going to feel your treatment. So that's a big game changer for us.
So in this case, they don't feel the negative effects, essentially,
right, that detox the next day after, because when you're moving soft tissue around, you're moving toxins. I mean, you really are. And if you're moving enough toxins, you're gonna feel like trash the next day if you're not flushing it.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And so when it came to getting into the microcurrent side of things, what actually drew you to giving it a try? Why did you hear about it, and what was your thought process about it?
So a client of ours actually sent us a video of you and John talking about microcurrent. And we sat on our lunch break and we watched the video, and I just got this gut feeling like I need to have this. You've talked about the book Body Electric.
Mhm.
We have several copies of that book because it is a very good book about your body and electricity. And doing the myofascial is wonderful for people, but there was always something missing for me. And I really felt like when I watched that video, it clicked. This is our missing piece. This is what we need to further our therapies.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. And when it comes to clients, I mean, obviously you work with a lot of clients. I'm sure you have many a day. Have you ever had clients that have had fears or hesitations about wanting to work with the equipment? And if so, kind of how do you overcome that?
Okay, so I have a story for you on that. My grandpa, when he was in his 30s, he worked in a butcher plant where they took care of turkeys. And so there's a lot of electrical equipment that goes along with that. And he was in one of the areas by himself, water on the floor, electrical issue happened. He flipped the switch and got electrocuted.
Mm.
Now, this was significant electricity going through his body, should have died from it. Very, very skeptical about anything that has to do with electricity since then. And it was quite a long period of time that he was stuck holding on, so yeah, it was pretty serious. And so my grandpa has a hip issue, and thus uses canes, and so that it's caused him some scoliosis and some curvature on one shoulder, and so it's caused him some malformations of his body over time. And I kept telling him, you're gonna love it, you just need to try it. And he's like, no, I've been electrocuted, I'm not doing no electricity, and it's not happening. And I tried to explain to him, square waves, round waves, they're totally different. I promise it will be fine. And I talked him into getting a treatment, and I corrected his scoliosis. And now every time I treat him, he's like, could you do a little bit of that too? Just a little bit. So
Well, you brought him around then. Then that's the
yeah.
thing, right? A lot of people do kind of think, oh, it's electricity. This is kind of a scary thing, but it's such a small amount of electricity. It really is not the same as sticking a fork in a socket or anything
definitely
like that.
not.
Yeah, but I
or
can
hot
definitely
wire or electrocuted or anything like that. Yeah.
No.
Totally
And I can
different.
see why he'd be nervous about it. I mean, that seems like quite an experience, but I'm glad you were able to help him overcome it. And I suppose, as clients come to you as well, they're really looking, they're looking to resolve their pain, resolve their problems. And so they probably trust you enough to just go with what you suggest. And scalar, for people that are listening that don't know scalar, you don't really feel it. So you could probably even do it without them knowing, and they wouldn't even know that you did. Right. So I won't
tell. I've done it.
So ultimately, for people who don't know, maybe some people do, this year, as of like this month, we actually asked you to join our team, didn't we? So Andria is actually one of our newest treatment coordinators, and I think you're pretty happy about it. And we're really happy to have you. We really want to get the myofascial component as well, and I want to partner with you on that and seeing what we can do to help people with that, because it's a really good technique that's extremely hard to find people in most cases that actually know how to perform it. So it's something that, it's really, really tough. I've had people that have been looking for it and have not been able to find people nearby. So, it's going to be amazing working with you through here. Do you have like one particular story that stands out to you of like a client that has really blown you away at the results you've gotten that you'd like to share?
So when we talked the last time, when it was Pain Free for Life Week, which is awesome, I talked about doing the tongue stimulator and correcting a COVID nose issue. I talked a little bit about some long-term therapy and correcting some scoliosis. But today I really want to share with you my grandma's story. So she's the one that has built everything we have, and that's kind of why I have her over here. She's our basis. But over the last couple of years, she's been really sick. And we found out all of a sudden, we had no idea that she was diabetic. And so that was a challenge. We had some ups and downs, some scary nights going to the hospital and dealing with that. And then within those times of going to the hospital, we also found out that she has breast cancer. And so getting those hard diagnoses is really gut-wrenching. And even though we are all natural healers here, and if a client approached us with these things, we would have the answers immediately. Do this and this and this, and it's going to change your life. Okay. But when it comes to family,
Different.
Yeah, it's totally different. And I'm sure that you completely understand what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of all of that, my grandmother is very, very hard-headed, very stubborn. Okay, so she is, I'm not doing chemo, I'm not doing radiation, she's giving us all the things that she's not doing. Okay. And so she had a pretty steady time where she was declining, and we thought we were going to lose her. We thought for sure she wasn't going to make it to Christmas this year. Well, let me tell you, we have been doing all the therapies that we have here, which, I mean, that's infrared, that's essential oils, that's microcurrent, that's myofascial release, that's detoxing foot baths. She's doing apricot seed oil, apricot seeds. She's doing Essiac tea. She's, so she's changed her diet. She's doing acupuncture. She's hitting it with everything that she's got. Okay. Yeah. And so the last scan that she had, diabetes is under control. Okay. So she's spot on there. We're doing great. All of her fractures, there was 13 of them in her spine, are healed.
Beautiful.
And all of the masses that she had, which went from her sacrum clear up through the T-spine and into the breast, adrenals, all of that was completely covered. They're all shrinking. They are so much smaller. Everything is going so well. Yes. So the biggest challenge that she has been trying to overcome the last 6 weeks or so has been her balance. She was in so much pain from the cancer being in her spine. She's been using a walker, and she's been very sedentary, which makes atrophy a thing. Unfortunately, right. It progresses quickly. So last week, I was actually able to convince her to let me do the balance protocol with her.
Okay.
7 minutes, Rob. She was not using her walker.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
So she was walking and showing my mom how well she could walk around. And she goes walking back over to her walker, and she's doing this little dance. She turns around to grab a hold of her walker and picks her feet up off of the floor. My mom was freaking out. So needless to say, we have a little bit of work left to do. She's still healing. She's a very strong person. And if anybody can just kick all of this, it's going to be her. But 7 minutes.
That's all it takes sometimes. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's beautiful. I'm glad she's on the mend, it seems. And, I'll keep her in my thoughts. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, okay. We're over time, which always happens to me with these case study interviews. It's so easy to talk about all of this stuff, and I could talk forever. Yep. But I know people have to go places and do things. So I just wanted to say to everyone that's watching, if you really want to be a part of this, this is the time to jump in. Don't be afraid of microcurrent. Microcurrent is in you. It's good for you. You need to put those electrons back in. and you need to be able to get to the point where you can heal. And you'll be working with our team every step of the way. And thank goodness Andria is now part of that team as well. So thank you, Andria, for taking the time today. And thank you everyone for joining us. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, you too.